People join. My name is Beth Foss, and I am the Director of Operations at the CRF. And today we are going to be meeting with Andy Burstein, who is co-founder and the CEO of a company called Accessible Pharmacy Services. So we want to thank our sponsor, 4DMT, for helping us put these on. And as always, we'll be answering questions. And because it's a smaller group, maybe if people have questions at the time, Andy, is it okay if I just go ahead and pose them to you, or do you want to wait to the end?
No, absolutely. We'll let's
Kind of
roll
make
it.
it more casual.
We'll play
Okay.
it by ear. Absolutely. I'd love to have a conversation with
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much again, everyone. And we'll go ahead and get started. And first off the bat, Andy, I wanted to say thank you for sending me the box of your demo products and the marketing
you.
pieces. They were really easy, very straightforward. And I just want to give you a shout out to anyone who might want to use your services. It was really nice. It was very easy, very straightforward. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
You bet. All right, we'll catch up with you in a little bit.
All right. So should I just jump in and get started?
Go ahead and get started.
All right. Well, Beth, thank you so much. Thank you for the warm introduction. Thank you, Kathy and Eric, as well. I appreciate you including me today. And I'm glad to be here with everyone who's here live and then people who will join us to listen to the recording in the future. So I'll just reiterate and jump in. So my name is Andy Burstein. I am the co-founder and CEO of Accessible Pharmacy Services. For those of you who are not familiar with us, we are a home delivery pharmacy service and healthcare company. We specialize in patients primarily who are blind and have low vision, although we're expanding a little bit, and I'll share that in a minute. We're the only provider of its kind in the world, and we're the largest blind-owned healthcare company in the United States. And everything that we do is about merging healthcare and accessibility and empowering the patients who we work with to manage their medication, to manage their diabetes, in a way that leads to greater independence, with less stress, and to ultimately help those individuals live healthier lives. And so I'll share a little bit about, basically today's conversation is going to be a case study of us. We're the case study. I'll share with you about how we got started as a company, how the idea originated, what we do that makes us unique, some of the things that we're currently working on, and some of the things that we're hoping to do in 2024. So the idea of our company started, we're a relatively new company. We started our company, the idea started about 6 years ago. I was, by the way, I live in West Philadelphia, right on University of Pennsylvania's campus, for those of you who are familiar with Philadelphia. About 6 years ago, I was running a healthcare marketing firm. And our clients were healthcare systems, physicians' offices, pharmaceutical industry, medical device industry. We did a lot in the veterinary industry. And at the time, we were trying to help our clients develop strategies around accessibility so that they could be more equitable, they could be more accessible. And I decided to reach out to different individuals who I knew who had experience in the accessibility world, either from an academic perspective, from a healthcare perspective, or as consumers who had their own challenges navigating the world of healthcare and their own challenges around accessibility. And so I decided to reach out to a guy I knew from Little League. Our kids used to play ball together. I didn't know him too well. His name's Alex. I knew that Alex lived near me in Philadelphia. Our kids were friendly, and Alex is blind. So, there was one project in particular we were working on, some technology. And I was like, I'm going to reach out to that blind guy from Little League. I'm going to pick his brain. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, my name's Andy. I don't know if you remember me. This is how we know each other. I'm working on some technology and I'd love your insight and feedback. Are you free for a cup of coffee? And so we ended up meeting up at a cafe in Center City, Philadelphia. And I got to hear Alex's story. Alex was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa as a teenager. He's also from Philadelphia. He left Philadelphia to go to college. He went to school at UNLV in Las Vegas. His goal was to be in the hospitality industry. So he was going to school. He was also taking, working part time in the casinos and the resorts, the hotels. They're really trying to learn more and more about, uh, the hospitality industry. He graduated college and he moved back to Philadelphia. And when he moved back to Philadelphia, he got a job as an assistant general manager in a hotel. By the time he hit his mid-20s, he had lost his usable eyesight and realized there were not too many opportunities for blind hotel managers. And so he decided to reinvent himself. He went back to college, he got an MBA, and he ultimately earned a PhD from Drexel University with a focus on marketing and creating an inclusive marketplace. He was the first blind man to get a PhD from Drexel University. So here I am thinking like, oh, hang out with this guy, Alex. We'll talk about business. We'll talk about baseball. We'll talk about our kids, and maybe I'll learn something. Little did I know that Alex is arguably the foremost expert in the country in accessibility. He wrote his doctoral dissertation on the consumer experience for blind consumers in America. And within it, there was a whole section on healthcare. So, this one-time cup of coffee became a pretty regular occurrence. Alex and I would get together and we'd share ideas. We'd reconcile the ideas with his research. And he really helped me understand the challenges that he as a consumer experiences and his research documented when it comes to navigating the world of healthcare. Whether that be navigating, dealing with insurance companies, ending up in the emergency room, scheduling a doctor's appointment, managing medication, managing diabetes, managing other people's, being a caregiver and managing other people's healthcare. And while he explained to me that, a lot of companies are doing some really great things, excuse me. Sorry, something caught in my throat. I'm looking for. All right, I found my cough remedy.
It's got to be allergy season between
oh, I'm
my
getting
sneezing
crushed.
and your
I'm
coughing.
getting crushed. But yes. So that and my antihistamines are wearing out clearly. That being said, so Alex explained to me that a lot of companies are doing great things, but for the most part, they're all retrofitting an existing model. So we came up with the novel idea, like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we created our own healthcare company, built it from the ground up to really focus on accessibility and to try to identify all the different touch points that a consumer or a patient would have with this business model and try to take steps to make each of those touch points as accessible as possible. And so this was like, I guess like late 2018. Alex and I we wrote a business plan, create that model. We decided to bring in a third business partner because at the end of the day, I'm a business person. Alex is an academic. We have a lot of theory about healthcare, but we didn't really, we're not healthcare providers. We brought in our third business partner, Dr. Jason Barrett. Jason has his doctorate in pharmacy. He spent the first 25 years or so of his career really working on medication management and diabetes management solutions for individuals with cognitive and intellectual disabilities. And so when we met with him, he's like, listen, I need to learn a lot about how people with low vision or poor vision or blind, how they manage medication and diabetes. He goes, but the same model. The model is personalized healthcare. How do we work with an individual, figure out what their challenges are, and assemble a collection of solutions that can empower them to manage their healthcare independently? It was great. This was at this point, we were like into like mid to late 2019. We held a bunch of focus groups in Philadelphia with individuals who are blind or individuals who are losing their vision. Alex had been very active in the foundation fighting blindness. He's actually the president of the Philadelphia chapter now. We drove down to Baltimore and spent a day at the NFB headquarters to get feedback from their executives. Dr. Kirk Adams, who was the former president of the AFB, was incredibly generous and supportive of us and helping us make connections and give us some insight. We had some friends as a part of the ACB in Pennsylvania And so it was great. One of the things that was really exciting was that we validated there was no one in the marketplace doing what we were proposing doing. Everyone was incredibly supportive and generous with their time and feedback and insight. So we tightened up our business model and we launched our company in April 2020. It was like the same day the pandemic started, we started our company. And at the time, we didn't know about it. We were like, "Oh, it's like the flu, whatever. In a few weeks from now, we'll be in full stride." Well, we all know what transpired, but nevertheless, we plowed forward. And if we fast forward to today, we now operate in 29 states, as well as Washington D.C. and Puerto Rico. We employ 65 people. 25% of our staff are blind themselves, and we're growing. Our growth comes a few ways. Our growth comes geographically. We're getting licensed, and we're in new states. We're moving into new markets. But the exciting growth comes from the feedback that we get from our patients. It's we joke about our patients are our extended market research team. On a regular basis, we get calls from patients of ours. They'll share with us things like, "Oh, you have to check out this new app. I use this app to do this," or "Check out this new company or this organization or these educational resources that I've learned about." And so uh, our patients are giving us feedback and giving us guidance about how we can be more accessible and how we can integrate more solutions into our offering. In addition, so our legal name is Accessible Pharmacy Services. For a while, we were calling ourselves Accessible Pharmacy Services for the Blind. But what's fascinating is that just because of the nature of our business model, that it's one-on-one, it's working with the individual to figure out how to support them. Other populations started gravitating towards us that had their own experiences of challenges related to accessibility and healthcare. So now, in addition to blind and low vision patients, we support patients who are deaf, patients with in the paralysis community, whether it be things like Parkinson's, arthritis, or spinal cord injury, cerebral palsy. We work with individuals with cognitive and intellectual disabilities. We work with refugees and asylum seekers. And the common denominator amongst each of these populations is that they each have their own barriers to access to healthcare. And so we use the same model, like what is that individual's barrier to access? And what do we need to do to lower those barriers of access so that they can live healthier lives? It's pretty cool. We're very lucky, we're growing nicely, and we're literally just scratching the surface. That there's so much more that we can be doing. The concept of accessibility is not it's not like a finish line where you cross it and you're like, "Oh, that's it, we're accessible." It's an ongoing work in progress. We're always learning more. There's always new technology. There's new educational models and programs. There's new community support. And so for us, it's about always, just being not complacent with where we are, being alert to what trends in the marketplace, and inviting the healthcare providers, the government agencies, and the patients who we work with, and our staff to continuously give us feedback about how we can be better. It's a model that's working for us. So that being said, what actually do we do? We deliver to people's homes prescription medication, over-the-counter medication, vitamins, nutritional supplements, small accessible medical devices, a full range of diabetes supplies and products. We find that the last count we did this was like in the summer, we did an analysis. 53% of our patients have diabetes. And amongst our patient base, it's the largest cause for blindness. And so it's obviously an enormous challenge for anyone, let alone someone who's struggling with vision loss. So we provide diabetes supplies, insulin, glucometers, etc. We also provide guide dog and pet medication. What makes us, and some educational programs. I'll explain our educational programs in a little bit as well. What makes us unique is how we bring these products to market. Everything that we do that makes us accessible, and I'll break that down in a second. Everything we do that makes us accessible um, is free of charge. We have free accessible packaging, free accessible labeling, free home delivery, free educational programs and support. We make our money by being reimbursed by insurance companies. We get some money from the Center for Disease Control. We get some support in different states from state government agencies. And so there's no burden to the patient to work with us. In fact, it's completely transparent. And all of these other services that we're able to provide are there's no financial burden for the patient themselves. So I'll break down each of those things just to explain what we did. And I did share with Beth some examples of some of these things. So if you want like an opinion, hey, I'll show you my opinion. But you can also check in with Beth, and she can give you some insight into some of the packaging and labeling. But it all starts with a conversation. Unlike the traditional model where you go to a physician and a physician writes a prescription and either hands you a piece of paper or calls it into a pharmacy, it has to start with a conversation with someone from our team. And so more often than not, that's a telephone call. So an individual who's considering using us for services can call us. We have about a 10-minute phone call. In that conversation, we ask a few things like, who are you as a person? What's your level of vision? Are you experiencing further vision loss? What other kinds of healthcare issues are you dealing with? How are you currently managing your medication? What's working for you? What's not working for you? What are your meds? What's your insurance company? We work with most insurance policies, including Medicare, Medicaid. We take that information. It takes us about a day. We go to work. We do a few things. We will contact your insurance company. Think of us almost as like a concierge healthcare company for people in the blind and low vision community. We will contact your insurance company to confirm eligibility. We will have our pharmacists review all of the medication. That's really important because I've got a few scenarios. One scenario is someone who's a little bit older who's let's say be getting prescribed different medications over the course of 30 years. Well, the way your body absorbs medication when you're 30 years old, very different way your body absorbs medication when you're 60 years old. In addition, if you're getting prescribed medication from your general practitioner and your cardiologist and your ophthalmologist and your endocrinologist, and you're taking prescription eye drops, and you also self-medicate. I mean, by self-medicate, you decided on your own that you want to take a multivitamin, vitamin C, and fish oil, and some herb that your cousin told you about that's supposed to be really good for your skin. And you drink coffee and you drink alcohol. Well, there's a good likelihood a combination of all of those things are causing problems. Those problems could be unintended side effects. Quite often, a combination of those meds can impact the body's ability to properly absorb one of those medications. And then what ends up happening is, for example, one of your doctors is like, you know what? That's not working. We're going to start upping the dosage. We're going to go from 20 milligrams to 40 milligrams of a very powerful drug. When in reality, the vitamin C that you're taking is actually blocking that med. And so you keep upping the dosage, hoping to get the desired effect. When in reality, just tweaking some prescription meds or eliminating the vitamin C, just for argument's sake, can actually get you to a healthier space without having to increase the dosage. Those are just, I just made those examples up, but those are some examples. So our pharmacists will review all the medication. We will reach out to the prescribers and we'll make recommendations, adjust medications based upon what we think would be best for you with the prescriber. So assuming all that works, we call you back and we can get started. And the next time you're due for your medication, it just shows up on your front door. And we provide active refill management, which means every month it'll show up on your front door. And we'll give you an alert with many, way in advance if one of the prescriptions is due for a renewal. You don't have a fire drill with like one pill left. And your doctor said, you got to come in for so I can re-prescribe it and evaluate you. So that conversation usually happens on the telephone. but it can happen in other ways as well. We are the healthcare partner for Be My Eyes. And so for those of you who are not familiar with Be My Eyes, I encourage you all to check it out. It's incredible. It was started by a blind man in Denmark. There are three levels of Be My Eyes. The first is it's an app. It's essentially like a one-way FaceTime app that connects blind users with sighted volunteers. It's a free app. It works on both the iPhone and the Android. There are currently in the United States 500,000 users, and there are close to 4 million volunteers. It also works really well we recommend it for patients of ours who have dementia to get some guidance. We also use it to support home healthcare providers when they're in the homes with individuals. But all right, so it connects blind users to sighted volunteers. I'm also a volunteer. I've had one call. There's 4 million of us. So it literally is, if you don't pick up in the first like fraction of a second, it automatically routes to the next person. When I answered the call, it was a woman who was at a vending machine. She wanted to get pretzels, and she's blind. And she asked me if I could help her identify the pretzels. So she held her phone up to the vending machine. We identified the pretzels. I helped her key in the digits in the keypad. It was not an accessible keypad. She slipped her dollar bill into the dollar bill feeder. Her pretzels. It was awesome. That's an example of the first level of Be My Eyes. It's a peer-to-peer model. The second level is called specialized help. And that's where we come in. Specialized help is a collection of businesses and organizations, United States, that can provide personalized services to individuals who are blind and low vision, rather than connecting to a random volunteer, even if that random volunteer is the best of intentions. For us, as an example, we are their healthcare partner. So if an individual has a question, I'll tell you how we use Be My Eyes. We help individuals who are blind or low vision do home COVID testing. We help women who are blind do home pregnancy tests. We help individuals identify pills. We help people understand labels. We measure liquids. We help people. We train people. We routinely train people on diabetes supplies, whether it be glucometers, continuous glucose monitoring systems, new syringes. They're trying to figure out what's up. If we send someone a package and they're confused about the package and they need some clarification, they can engage us through Be My Eyes, and we can help them navigate the package. There are other cool providers in the specialized help section. Like, I'll give you an example. Procter & Gamble is a partner of theirs. So an individual who's blind or low vision can engage with, for example, the Tide detergent team on specialized help and get help with laundry, or some of Procter & Gamble's cleaning supplies and get help cleaning everything from, rooms in your home. So everyone gets it. All right, so that's that. There's a third level of Be My Eyes that just launched in the last few weeks. It's on the iPhone now, and it's going to be in the Android coming soon. It's actually artificial intelligence, and we have some time. I'll demonstrate it for everyone. It's science fiction. It's an invaluable tool that I highly recommend everyone learn about and play with. And it's free. All right. So that being said, so that same conversation I had about learning about who the patient is, we can do that on Be My Eyes. We do work with deaf patients, and we work with our deaf patients using VRS, stands for Video Relay Services. It's essentially it's an on-demand sign language interpreter. It's a free federally funded program. And the way it works is, if I were deaf, I wanted to get in touch with Beth, for example, using my smartphone or a tablet or a computer with a camera on it, I would contact one of these on-demand sign language interpreting operators. I would sign to that operator and say, I'd like to get in touch with Beth. That operator would call Beth on the telephone and say, hey, Beth, I'm operator X. I have Andy on the line with me. He is deaf. I'm going to be interpreting between the two of you. And I'm able to have a much more fluent conversation with Beth. That's how we support our deaf patients. We also work with patients who are deaf and blind. We communicate to them either through caregivers or through text or through email. So that's how we support patients. it comes to accessible packaging, all of our packaging is free. Work in progress. We're trying to, add additional packaging solutions as well. So we have, for example, pre-sorted disposable pill organizers. So rather than an individual getting a bunch of bottles, having to organize it themselves, we can pre-sort for them prescription meds, vitamins, supplements, over-the-counter meds in a collection of pre-sorted disposable pill organizers. We have individual daily packets, which are 2-inch by 2-inch plastic baggies that can come pre-sorted. It's for those of you who are familiar with Amazon's pill pack. It's the same machine. We have the same machine that they have. They have 20 of them. We have 2 of them, but nevertheless, it's the same machine that Amazon uses for pill pack. We have different size and shape bottles. So we have patients who like bottles. So we have small, tiny bottles with childproof lids. But for patients who have like arthritis or Parkinson's, we have large bottles with pop-off lids. We have single liquid doses of infant medication, over-the-counter medication. We have a few remedies now, and it's something we're hoping to expand. We anticipated a better response from the marketplace for that, but it's still good, and we're hoping to grow in that space. We're also working with Temple University's Disability Studies program to develop packaging for individuals with spinal cord injuries. And it's a work in progress. It's a little bit harder than we thought, but we'll get there eventually. That's our accessible packaging. When it comes to accessible labeling, and by the way, we're agnostic towards solutions. It's all about what works for the patient. That's why we have that conversation with the patient. And patients can try different kinds of packaging and labeling every month until they find something that really works best for them. When it comes to labeling, we have traditional text medication labels. We can print labels on bottles in 200 different languages. We have large font labels for those who would benefit from that, with different color contrast backgrounds. We have we can print labels in Braille. We have grade 1 and contracted Braille labels. We have a collection of talking labels. There's a few that we use. There's essentially 4 that we use. For those of you who are familiar with Envision America, they were real pioneers in this space. About 20 years ago, they started creating talking labels. They use technology called RFID labels. Essentially, it's a sticker with a microchip embedded in it. And we upload the medication information to the microchip. And using either a free app to be downloaded or a free device that we can send you, it essentially reads the medication information out loud. And I'll demonstrate, for those of you who are not familiar with it, I'll demonstrate one right now. This is just an example of a talking label. Oh, I got ahead of myself. I demonstrated the Chinese talking label, not the English talking label. Hold that thought. I'll come
That was
back
good.
to the Chinese label in a second. All right. Cool. All right. So this is the English talking label.
Patient name, Jane Washington. Medication, furosemide 40 milligrams. Instructions, take 1 tablet b-mouth once daily. Quantity, 60. Fill date, February 16, 2023.
All right, everyone gets the gist of it. It reads through the entire information. All right, so quick segue about the Chinese label. It's really interesting. In-house, we've, for a while, been supporting patients in Spanish, Russian, Ukrainian, and Hindi. We have people on our team who speak those languages. We got a call from the Pennsylvania, a group within, like a subgroup within the Pennsylvania Department of Health. This was last spring, and they were like, we have a collection of Afghan refugees under our care. And not only do they not speak a word of English, a significant portion of them are also illiterate. And they were like, we learned about your talking medication labels. Are you able to create medication labels in Pashto and Dari? And so, long story short, we upgraded our software, and now we're able to, I forget the exact number of languages, but we're able to, in many cases, actually create talking medication labels in a multitude of languages. So what you heard was that same talking label in Mandarin. All right, that being said, all right, so that's the Script Talk solution. We also work with a company called Way Around and make labels called Way Tag labels. It's a cool company, really cool people. a father and daughter company. The father is blind, and they make a labeling solution. It's primarily a home labeling solution. You can label things, in your kitchen, in your cupboard. They have washable labels that you can put on clothing, and you simply scan it with an app. They can read the product information out loud to you. So we learned about that from a patient who was like, "Hey, I use WayTag labels at home. Would you be willing to put the labels on bottles?" So we reached out to the WayTag company, Way Around company, and we've been working with them for almost about a year now. It's been awesome. They're really cool people. We're trying to develop our own labeling solution for deaf blind individuals. Uh, it's essentially a label that can extend through Bluetooth to a braille display where someone can learn about their medication. We're playing with different QR code solutions right now to try to support patients with that as well. So that's all of our labeling stuff. So that's what we do: free support, free packaging, free labeling. It's all accessible. It's accessible as it can be. So what else do we? A few other things about us. We run a collection of educational programs, and what's pretty cool about our educational programs is these ideas come to us from our patients and the healthcare providers we work with and our staff. So some examples of some of our programs range from, we do an ongoing collection of programs focused on blindness and diabetes. We run those programs with the University of Pennsylvania's Diabetes Education Center. So, by the way, a lot of the previous webinars are archived on our website. Our website is accessiblepharmacy.com. It's a screen reader friendly website with large fonts, and you can find all of these webinars I'll mention right now. They're all available on our website. So we have our diabetes programs. We have some ones that break down, that talk about insulin, that talk about diabetes management, that talk about nutrition. We ran a really popular webinar focused on the continuous glucose monitoring systems, their accessibility. We ran a program last year with the Chicago Lighthouse, and they're cool. Like they have some superstars in their low vision optometry center, focusing on eye drop strategies and eye drop administrations and different strategies for administering eye drops. We ran a program focusing on blindness and breast cancer. Quick background story of that is my wife is a breast cancer survivor. Thank God she's okay. The whole experience, in addition to being terrifying, was incredibly inaccessible. And so started to create a whole collection of programs. We created Braille brochures with the American Cancer Society, focusing specifically on breast cancer. The biggest thing that we created that's been pretty exciting, we created a video that's, in addition to the webinar, we created like a standalone video for a woman who was blind about how to do a self-exam of her breasts. And it's actually become the default solution for a woman who is blind or low vision about how to do a self-exam. And so I encourage everyone to check that out and please share it. It's a very important to me. Oh, I see Eric just joined. Hey, Eric. So I encourage everyone to check that out. This year we ran a program on blindness and glaucoma. We ran a webinar. Our most successful webinar to date was one we did in September. It was about blindness and mental health. We're actually going to do a second one in the spring this coming year because it was so successful. We had 1,900 people attend the webinar. And the speakers range from, we had a cool group out of Rutgers University. They created an amazing peer-to-peer support network of blind and low vision individuals and that volunteer their time to help others who are dealing with blindness and low vision. We had someone from the 988 hotline. So the 988 hotline used to just be the suicide prevention hotline, but during the pandemic, it got expanded to be anyone with a mental health need speak to a national network of social workers. We had a woman who was the chairwoman from the ACB's mental health committee speak about resources that are available to the blind and low vision community, mental health. We had our chief medical officer speak about psychotropic drugs, drugs related to mental health, and genomic testing. And finally, we had this really cool woman. She's in Philadelphia. She has retinitis pigmentosa herself. She's a therapist who has a very large practice. And she just spoke about, the mental health experience, how to advocate for yourself if you're going to therapy for the first time. Therapy 101, mental health support 101. And so that's on our website. We ran a program October 13th focused on clinical trials. It was pretty cool. We had someone from the Foundation Fighting Blindness. We had the former director of education from the National Eye Institute. We had someone from Prism Ophthalmology Group, which is a national ophthalmology chain that actually hosts clinical trials. And we had a patient of ours actually volunteer. She's actually going through a clinical trial herself. She just spoke about her personal experience, learning about clinical trials and what her experience is like going through clinical trials. Finally, on December 1st, we're hosting the second Blind Health Expo. It's pretty cool. The idea started, our student interns actually came up with the idea. 2 summers ago, we run a program with the New York State Commission for the Blind. It's managed through Visions out of New York City, where we employ college students who are blind, who want to pursue careers in healthcare. And the idea popped up, I forget who it was, but someone was like, why don't all these groups and organizations work with each other to help people who are blind and low vision? And that evolved into like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we created like an online platform where people in the blind community and all the stakeholders in the blind and low vision community, nonprofit organizations, research organizations, healthcare providers, medical device company, the pharmaceutical industry, et cetera, and consumers can all come together and learn from each other and share ideas. And so that evolved into the Blind Health Expo. And so we decided, we're like, all right, let's create an online event that's very accessible, where groups and organizations can exhibit for free and individuals can come and learn for free. And we had very modest expectations. We were like, all right, maybe we'll get, I don't know, 20 exhibitors and maybe we'll get 100, 200 attendees and it'll be cool. We decided to call it the Blind Health Expo. We ended up having 118 exhibitors and thousands of attendees. So it significantly exceeded our expectations. We're doing it again this year. We're really excited about it. On December 1st, you can sign up on our website and register for it. Pretty excited about that. Let's see. My goal was to go to 245 on the East Coast for those of you who are further west or internationally. So a few other things about us. We've won a few awards, and it's not like we need awards or seek awards, but it is pretty cool to be acknowledged by groups in the community for the work that we do. We won the federal government's award for advancement in accessibility through the FCC. It was a pretty big thrill. It was like early on, we were just getting started with it. It was us and Apple. We only had like a small amount of patients, and all of a sudden we're being acknowledged by the federal government with Apple. We won the Helen Keller National Center Award, their accessibility award for the work that we do with deafblind patients. We won the NFB this past July. The NFB awarded us their Dr. Jacob Balatin Award for the work that we do in healthcare for the blind and low vision community. We won the Henry Viscardi Award for work that we do with a full range of patients in healthcare with a multitude of disabilities. The New York Times wrote a feature article about us, if anyone's interested. The article's a little old now. It's about almost 2 years old at this point, but it's still pretty, for us, it was a massive thrill. We tell our story all day long. We like telling our story, but to hear like a New York Times journalist tell our story back to us was pretty awesome. So those are the things that we do. If anyone wants to check us out, our website is accessiblepharmacy.com. If anyone has any questions that they're not comfortable sharing in this context, or later on if you're listening to the recording, you can reach us at info, I-N-F-O, at accessiblepharmacy.com. And by the way, I get copied on those emails. So if it's a specific question for me, I will see that. Let's see what else. You can find us on the Be My Eyes Specialized Help section. And once again, if you're considering working with us, simply just give us a call. It takes us about a day to research if your insurance is covered, and we can work with you. And there's no strings attached. You can try us for a few months. If at a point in the future you're like, yeah, you know what, I want to go back to my chain drugstore, that's fine too. We'll switch everything back for you. All that we ask in return is that you share with us why. Fortunately, we don't lose too many patients or any patients at all. Really, the only time we lose a patient is if someone moves into a state where we're not licensed. But our hope is that within the next 18 to 24 months, we will have a national presence. So, all right, I'm really gonna stop talking now. I want to give ourselves some time for Q&A. Beth and Kathy and Eric, thank you again for like connecting this and including me today. I'm really grateful. So thank you
That
again.
was my first note to myself. I have some questions. And again, everybody go ahead. And if anyone does want to ask questions, use that Q&A or the chat feature. And I'll be sure to pose that question to Andy. I just want to say congratulations on all those awards.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Yeah,
And thanks
cool.
to Eric, who is on, that the two of you, how did you connect? Which meeting was
Eric,
it?
do you remember? I remember we were like on a support group call together and you and I connected offline.
Oh, and you know what? He'll probably say something. I wonder, well, he will. He'll probably say, or Eric, you can text me. But hey,
Sorry to
listen,
call you out there, Eric.
it's pretty interesting how, I think when you and I talked, probably a month ago now, it seemed it was a lot about the pharmacy and then, pharmaceuticals. And the more that you talked, it was a lot more about the services today. Um, what a great concept. And you just continue to extend your reach into the community and meet the needs and then build more, whatever the needs of your community are. And it's free, which again is just phenomenal. One of the questions I wanted to ask about this Blind Health Expo, December 1st, the best way to register for that would be at your website, or what would you suggest?
Oh, sure. On our website, you'll see 2023 Blind Health Expo. It's a screen reader friendly form. It's very easy. It literally just captures name and email address.
Excellent. And you can just come in, come out, whatever you want to learn about.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything more about that you want to say? Because that was really cool.
There is actually one thing I forgot to say. Can I share that?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I was like, because you would just say like, and this is a big thing. I can't believe I forgot about this because it's actually been one of the more exciting things that's happening in our office over the last 2 months. The Center for Disease Control reached out to us. They have a program. It's a diabetes and a pre-diabetes related program that helps people live healthier lifestyles, eat healthier, reduce the likelihood for diabetes, and manage diabetes properly. They asked us if we could train employees of ours who have disabilities to be coaches in this space. So we have two women who are blind who have both been trained to be diabetes lifestyle coaches. And we have someone who's going through training right now who is deaf. And we're able to we're able to provide diabetes lifestyle coaching services online. Currently, we're doing it in Pennsylvania and Delaware, but the CDC wants us to we have our first cohort going through right now. Once it's done, they want us to expand it. And our hope is that by the end of 2024, we'll be able to provide those services nationally. So it's an incredible thing. It's fully paid for by all insurance companies, most insurance companies. And it's being taught by these two blind women and this guy, Mead, who's going to be starting in the next few weeks as well. And we're going to be featuring that at the Blind Health Expo, so you can stop by our booth and check it out. That was the punchline.
Yeah, done. Tell me more. We every other year we have a conference and we've had exhibitors, and I could be wrong, I could be forgetting, but I don't remember these talking labels. That's really exciting. The Waytag company and the talking labels. That's really fascinating, and it sounds like it's really easy to use for many of people.
Oh, 100%. It literally is. It's a free app. It literally is, and it can be activated over voiceover. And there's a Script Talk. One of them has a device that can actually be. It's about the size of a clock radio. So if someone doesn't have a smartphone, we can send them one of those devices for free, and they can use it as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and like as I mentioned, the Waytag ones are really cool. They have washable labels, so you can actually label your clothing, scan it, and it says you can say like this is a red sweater. When it comes out of the wash, you scan it, and that way you know you can color coordinate your clothing more easily.
That's so cool.
Isn't that cool?
Okay, and because there's not any questions down below, I'm just gonna ask, what's the third, the AI with the
Oh,
Be My
I'm
Eyes?
so
Tell us a
glad you
little bit
asked
about
that.
that.
All right, so I'm trying to see if I have something here that I can use. All right, I'm gonna hold. Hey, Eric. Oh, that's right. CRF is going to be exhibiting at the expo this year. All right, so I'm opening up Be My Eyes. On the Be My Eyes app, there's a new tab. It appeared about 3 weeks ago at this point now, called Be My AI. Okay. I don't have my voiceover on, so I'm going to do this manually and I'll read on my screen. But essentially, what it's able to do at a very high level, this was built by Be My Eyes, Microsoft, and OpenAI. We were really lucky. We got to be involved in the beta test for it because we were trying to figure out, they wanted us to figure out, we wanted to figure out, could this be used for medication out there? We're still a little reluctant to recommend it in that space yet. It's still a little imperfect, but I'll demonstrate what this would be like. So what I'm holding up is I'm holding an empty water bottle in my hand in front of my computer screen. I'm taking a picture of it. It takes about 15 seconds to process. All right, so here's what it ended up describing. The picture shows a hand holding a plastic water bottle in front of a laptop screen. The water bottle is labeled Deer Park. Laptop screen displays a video call with one participant visible. That's you, Beth, who appears to be an older woman with glasses.
Sure.
Ta-da!
Are you kidding?
You, I'm just reading. I'm just reading. I'm surprised it is. I think the water bottle was blocking me. It would have described me as a super handsome, young, athletic looking man.
Oh, yeah.
There is a list of participants on the right side of the screen, and it seems like there are 10 participants on the call. The background
Wow.
shows a room with a window, a wooden cabinet, and some items on top of it, which is behind my computer. So the concept is you can keep drilling deeper and deeper into this. I could be like, what's on that shelf on the wooden cabinet? And it can start to identify stuff like that. So right now, it's a little imperfect, but you figure within 5 years, this will be, like, I'll use an analogy. Think of like dial-up internet services versus high-speed internet services. At a point in the future, and it's not too far away, this could be done in real time, and it can actually stream. And so someone can walk into a room with their phone and have real-time dictation and narration of what's in front of the person.
Or on their
And it,
glasses.
or glasses, and it can narrate actually, so I can actually like add intelligence. I can be like, that woman is Beth, and so the next time I walk into the room, it'll be like, oh, Beth's sitting in the room.
The older woman.
The older woman, exactly.
Right, right.
It's really interesting. One of the challenges, while we're not comfortable recommending it for healthcare, is it still has hallucinations. And I'll give you an example of a hallucination. A few months ago, I was still, we were involved with the beta test, and I was having dinner with a friend of mine. So my friend is Korean. We were in a Chinese restaurant. We were eating Chinese food. So I took a photograph of my friend. We were sitting at a table, and she was sitting across the table from me. Oh, Eric. Oh, hold on a second. I'm going to pass the mic to you in a second. So you may have been involved with the beta test meeting where I shared this hallucination I had, which was, so I took a picture of my friend, and the description was, there is an Asian woman. So it described her as an Asian woman, not Korean, in a Chinese restaurant. So somehow it deduced that this was a Chinese restaurant, not an Asian restaurant, but a Chinese restaurant. Maybe there was the decor on the wall, or maybe there's a sign in Chinese. It described the food that was on the table. And my friend was holding her cell phone like horizontally in her hand. And it said, the woman is holding a pair of chopsticks. And so the hallucination was, this is an Asian woman in a Chinese restaurant eating Chinese food. That thing that we can't figure out in her hands, it must be chopsticks.
Mm.
So that was the hallucination we had. So the hallucination here is, you're an older woman, Beth. So
Hey, I knew there was a
it's
reason
a
why I like
hallucination.
you so much.
Yeah, right. So All right. Hey, Eric, are you able to talk? Are you able to chime in? I'd love to hear what your experience
No, Eric.
with
So
this.
for those of us that can't read what Eric said, I'm a beta tester for it. So if I go to Eric, hey, Eric, I'm going to allow you to talk. I've never done this before, but let's see how it works. Okay, here's Eric. Eric, make sure.
Yeah, you're on mute though.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can.
Excellent. Well, I greatly appreciate the presentation. Yes, we met. Actually, I think it was at the Baltimore and Beyond.
Okay.
I think you spoke. Baltimore and Beyond is a monthly support for the
Oh, wait, with Diane.
for the blind with Diane.
Oh,
The
Diane's
blind,
awesome.
the
Totally,
blind
totally.
support, Baltimore and Beyond, and that's where we first met. But I think I actually saw your booth when it could have been at the NFB's conference in New Orleans, or I met somebody that was with you from that. But that was the original part of it. But yeah, the beta test for the Be My Eyes, it can give you a lot of information, and I've used it a number of times, and it can get even more flowery to say that this is a cozy room that appears to be, or it appears to be a very cozy living room, and then we'll describe everything, including tchotchke. But I haven't had too many of the apparitions, as you were calling, or hallucinations.
Okay.
But it is tremendously helpful. I do a lot of traveling when I'm blind, and there are some hotel rooms that are beyond description in who thought this was a good idea, and it certainly helps me make sure I understand what's going on, or in some of the hallways.
Oh,
Hey
that's
guys,
so
let
cool.
me just ask you, because we'll have some people that are probably watching today and those that will be watching the recording. How do you get hooked up, or what's the best way of getting Be My Eyes?
It's an app that it's a free download, and it is a marvelous tool. It was actually, I think, created by Microsoft, but
Yes.
works incredibly well on iPhones. I use it because there are a whole group of features on there, from just a quick reading of a label or a document. And that's the one that I may have mentioned to some people. I use it right now. I'm using my phone, which is why I don't type really well on my phone. But when I'm watching a webinar on my iPad or computer, and there's really good information on the screen, I turn on Seeing AI, and I put on documents, and I take a picture of the screen, and it converts the information, all the emails or whatever the information is on the screen, and it turns it into readable text that I can copy and paste and put in my notes. So it's a great way of, while you're on a webinar, of being able to take notes if you don't have the speed to type quickly, or if you want to accurately get email addresses or things like that. It's a great use. And then it will also, on that same app, it also will actually look at handwriting. It can take script and figure out what it says, which is sometimes difficult for scammers.
How accurate is it, or is it really clumsy?
Pretty reasonable.
Okay.
Pretty reasonable. They're getting much better with it. I actually have a friend who sells the most powerful cameras around, and they're used for museums. And they've now got AI assisted, where they can go in for the old shipping logs of in this case, it was like Barbados' slave traffic. And they're able to go in, scan each page, and it converts it to readable text, even from the old flourished handwriting of the 16 to 17, 1800s. And
wow.
Yeah, so I mean,
how cool is that? It's like we're talking about it like it's just happening. It's like science fiction. That is just nuts.
But it also has it also has other features where it can tell you colors, or it can read currency to you. So it's I think it's a fundamentally important app for any of us with low vision. And I have it loaded, and it's on my home page, because it's one of my go-to quickest use apps.
Out of
Anyway,
curiosity, do you ever use the specialized help section on it?
yep.
Okay.
Yep. I have gone over to there. Absolutely.
Sounds like we maybe need to do another webinar for folks just on these kinds of things. Just everybody, people can come in and share what they know, because I'm sure there's so many different services, and on our YouTube channel, we have lots of different presenters the last 2 years for sure during COVID that have different services and software and hardware,
Totally.
and everything in between.
Interesting. Yeah. So thank God that the COVID is sort of subsiding, but there was a time in the peak we were helping individuals do COVID tests using Be My Eyes like all day long.
Isn't that something? Wow.
Yeah.
There aren't any other questions. And I'm, just for all of us, thank you for sharing your time. And, thanks to your co-founder, and
Alex.
Just that you came up with this concept, because it's helping thousands and thousands of people, just helping people and ease burdens and make things so much easier. So thank you for doing all this, truly.
Oh, it's awesome. We're very lucky.
Wow.
We're very lucky. And that being said, I encourage, it's like, as I mentioned, we're still learning. So if anyone's interested in becoming a patient, not only will you benefit from our services, but every time we work with a patient, we learn, and quite often, because everyone comes to vision loss differently with their own experience. And so to be able to help someone who's dealing with their own experience, it helps us learn things that we can plug into other people who are struggling with similar challenges.
Yeah.
And so, you're not only benefiting from us, but you're also teaching us to help others.
And Andy, you said anyone that's interested can just go to your website or get in contact with you to find out if their state is covered.
Yeah, we have our toll-free number it's on our website, and I can share with Beth and everyone after. It's 888-633-7007. That's 888-633-7007. If you have an Alexa, you can just ask Alexa to call Accessible Pharmacy, and it'll put right through. If you have, I'm not going to say her name out loud, but SIRI. If you ask her to call Accessible Pharmacy, she will call us too. And you can find us. And we're on the Be My Eyes specialized help section.
Excellent. Thank you, Andy. It was great.
Thank you, Andy.
Oh, thanks, Eric. Thanks, Beth. Thanks, Kathy. Thank you, everyone else. And thank you again also for participating in the expo this year. We're excited to have you there.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right. Be well, everyone. Thank you again.
Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.